Hi everyone. So welcome back to another episode of Brave Hearts by Luciano. As you know, Luciano is a place for every individual who is willing to sacrifice and to become the best version of themselves. And this is a place to slowly learn and gradually change your personality and achieve your dreams. So today I'm going to discuss about human emotions. We deal with these emotions daily and we don't know the depth of emotions and how does that emotions affect our day-to-day life. So this topic is very lengthy, so I'm going to be discussing this in two videos. So in today's video I'm going to be discussing about what is emotions and what are the components of emotions, and emotional intelligence and what are the components of emotional intelligence. So in the second video I'm going to be discussing about emotional abuse and the practical way to understand the emotional abuse, or you're facing the emotional abuse, and how do we overcome the emotional abuse. So what is an emotion? An emotion is a natural psychological and physical response to a thought, situation, or event. It happens automatically, which includes physical reaction and mental responses. Physical reactions means you are sweating and your facial expressions may be changing based on the emotion. So the mental responses mean you feel happy, sad, overwhelmed, such kind of things. Basically, it starts with the thought in your mind. Then your brain sends a signal, and then your body heart rate, your feelings changed, and then after that you feel that emotion in your body. According to the American Psychological Association, the emotion is defined as the complex interaction of subjective experience and behavioral patterns as well as psychological elements. So let's discuss these three components. The first one is subjective experience. So we define an emotion based on our internal mental state. Subjective experience means this is an internal mental state based on our subjective opinion to a different situation. We have different emotions. That's why people are behaving differently for the same problem or situation. So the second one is physiological response. So based on the emotions that we are interacting, our physical activity is triggered by that emotions. So based on that, our body's heart rate will be increasing, sweating will be increasing, sometimes hormonal changes will be also occurring. As an example, if you feel fear, the hormones like cortisol and adrenaline will be increased in the bloodstream, and this will affect for the flight or fight response. That means if we are engaging in a fearful activity, our body's response is either we fight or either we withdraw and go away from that situation. So that is the fight and flight response. So these physiological responses are included while we deal with the emotions. So the third one is behavioral response. So the emotions affect the adaptive responses to the stimuli, and it will help for us to navigate our day-to-day challenges and build meaningful interactions with people. So it is like behavioral changes that we do based on the emotions that we face. So if you are interested in the thorough knowledge of these emotions, you can find the classifications of each psychologist like Paul Ekman and Robert Plutchik. So those psychologists have classified these emotions into 6, 8, or sometimes the Robert Plutchik's wheel of emotions. So you can study these emotions and understand about emotions as well. So let's discuss what is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence refers to recognizing, understanding, managing, and influencing one's emotions as well as others. That means we need to identify the emotions that we have and understand them and manage them, and we have to deal with that emotions in a positive way as well as others. But basically, we cannot control other people's emotions because that is their psychological activity in their mind. If you can identify the emotions behind their behavior. Then you can have a better understanding of what they are coming from and how to deal with them. So let's discuss the components of emotional intelligence. So the first one is self-awareness. So we have to be aware of the emotional situations in our mind. That means the strength and weaknesses and the negativity, and we can identify these thoughts, because identification is very important, because we know we have positive emotions and negative emotions. By identifying this positive and negativity, we can increase the positive emotions in our life, as well as we can change the negative emotions in our life. And how do we deal with them? So the second one is self-regulation. As I mentioned earlier, if we identify these emotions, we can regulate them, we can direct them to a positive manner. That means emotions are coming and going in our mind. But what we can do is not to dwell in them and to be worried and upset, but we can identify and we can redirect them in a positive way, and we can change the narrative of that, and based on that we can direct the negative emotions into a positive aspect. So the third one is motivation. We all know about motivation. We have so many goals in our life, but motivation sometimes is overwhelming. But based on the emotional intelligence, we can identify what are the activities that we're going to have in our life, and we can motivate the thoughts based on the achievements that we want to achieve. So the fourth one is empathy. We know in this world people are going through difficult situations, and usually people don't express that. But with emotional intelligence, we can have the empathy toward ourselves first and to others as well, because we can go and understand their situations, and we can deal our emotions based on their situations. And empathy is very important in emotional intelligence, because when we are dealing with the society, people are facing different situations. So what we can do is we can change the way we deal with them by understanding them and improving our empathy towards them and towards ourselves as well. So the fifth one is social skills. So in order to live in the society, we should have social skills. So emotional intelligence helps us to understand the people and to deal with them in a better way. So the connections will be improved, because we know what other people think, and we know by the first sight that these people is going through these conditions because of the emotional intelligence that we have. So as a summary, what we discussed today is what is an emotion. So emotions are the psychological and physical response to a situation or any event, etc. So we have different kind of emotions, positive emotions and negative emotions. So the positive emotions are important and it is very helpful to our life, and the negative emotions are harmful and it's self-disrupting thoughts likewise. So there are a lot of classifications of emotions, as I mentioned the Robert Fletcher's wheel of emotions, etc. Also I mentioned the emotions are complex psychological status that reflect the personal experience and physiological response and behavioral response. Then we discussed what is emotional intelligence and what are the components of it. And so I think this video is important for you and you to understand what is going in our mind actually, and we don't know what is going in our head. So these emotions are playing crucial roles in our life and we don't know. Right now, just think, what am I feeling right now? What are the emotions ongoing in my head? It is related to stress, anger, happiness, joy, overwhelm, guilt. So you can identify this. You can sometimes you can change this by directing your focus to something, and sometimes you can just identify them and not react to it. That is the best way. And also you can improve your qualities like the components of emotional intelligence. By application of that emotional intelligent components into your life, you have a better uh, life for yourself, as well as to direct and deal with other people as well. So emotional awareness is very important. So I'm going to discuss about emotional abuse and how do we identify emotional abuse and what are the things that we can do to overcome the emotional abuse, because people don't know that they are in a condition of emotional abuse from someone or some group. So you should be definitely watch that video once I upload. So thank you for joining with me. I hope this message is important and valuable for you. So if so, please subscribe to my channel and support me to share my knowledge. And if there is anything that you can add to this content to be meaningful, just comment below, because it will be very important for the people who are struggling and who are finding their pathway and who are very eager to change their mind. Because once you change your mind, your life will be changed drastically. So thank you for joining with me today. I'm Luciana Ray. Please join me.